So we move now from India to Vietnam. My name is Alexandra. I work for German Red Cross, but I'm not here as German Red Cross. I'm here to represent Vietnam and our team there. So I just wanted to ask one question. Who has ever heard of forecast-based financing? Can you lift your hand? Okay, great. Not so bad. So a bit less challenging for me to introduce the concept, but I have my colleague Pablo from the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center who is coming after me and taking up the discussion around risk and forecast-based financing. So now to Vietnam. What we do together with the Vietnam Red Cross is we work on heat waves in an urban context in Vietnam, so in Hanoi, because we noticed, and we had a very interesting session this afternoon, that heat waves become more and more important. In fact, they were already in the past important, but we noticed that we really, as Red Cross, Red Crescent, with having a huge base of volunteers in countries, we can really make a difference by tackling with quite simple measures heat waves. So what is the situation in Vietnam, in Hanoi? We noticed that, in fact, average daily temperatures are increasing, and especially the length of the heat wave period is as well increasing, and that makes a quite big difference. The impacts of heat waves are that 20% of hospital admissions increase by 20% in general and by 45% regarding respiratory diseases. So that is quite enormous. And then for sure productivity is going down because a lot of people are working in the urban environment outside and cannot really continue working during a strong heat wave. So what are the factors enhancing risk and vulnerability? For sure, the urbanization is still growing, and especially in Hanoi as well, but you can as well use it in other contexts as well. And by 2050, in fact, 30% of the population will be older than 60 years. And so most being part of the most vulnerable population. So the most vulnerable, we did intense studies in Hanoi, are shippers, builders, people living in slums, street vendors, elderly, and as well women and children. So now back to forecast-based financing. Forecast-based financing is a concept we started working on like 4 years ago. We are not doing that alone. We are working in partnership with IFRC and with the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center and other actors such as WFP, UNOCHA, and a lot are joining this movement of forecast-based financing, because what we are doing is, in fact, we do not want anymore to wait until the disaster really happens. We have a lot of natural hazards where we have a lot of information and warnings early, and so we can act much earlier. And that you can apply, in fact, as well for heat waves. What are the components of forecast-based financing? So we work together with scientists on defining a trigger, so a scientific trigger, where from when this trigger is reached, then we implement automatically early actions, and the funding is released as well automatically. We set up a funding mechanism attached to the Disaster Relief Emergency Fund existing with IFRC in Geneva, and this attached window to the draft is now allowing us to release automatically funding for high-risk contexts to carry out this very valid early actions to reduce the risk for the vulnerable population. And all that information is in an early action protocol where the trigger is, the early actions are, the budget is, and for sure the responsibilities. And we work together not only with scientists, but as well with public authorities. I think I have to make it short, but these are the different steps of forecast-based financing. It takes a while to set it up, but once it's set up, then you feel like a national society in a good situation to respond early. What are possible early actions for heat waves? We are not there yet in Vietnam. We have some preliminary results. There can be warnings. I mean, we work together with public authorities, radio messages, public cool rooms could be one of the measures, free water provision, sensitization for sure, cash support, safe toilets for women, because women working outside often have the problem that they are not drinking all day long because there are almost no safe toilets. So some of the lessons learned, I mean, I told you that we only started in Vietnam. We start as well in Central Asia to work on heat waves in Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Some of the lessons learned as well of our other projects where we work on cyclone or flooding or cold waves is that in some cases we need different thresholds. So we need, for example, a threshold like months before a possible event or even 3 months ahead, because then you can carry out some longer term actions as well. And then you need really the short term threshold where you speed up and you do the early actions most needed, which are sometimes a bit more costly as well when risk is rising. Then research is important. We build a network of researchers supporting our work. We need, that is more lessons learned, that it helps enormously forecast-based financing to strengthen local actors, because we facilitate this dialogue to bring all the different people together and to work jointly on these early action protocols. And to bring it really to scale, that is still a huge challenge for us. But I think we shouldn't, I mean, we can be ambitious maybe for the next years and to really still increase our network and to bring other actors on board so that we reach bigger scales. And last but not least is as well that not all can be covered by forecast-based financing. It's really this small window between a forecast and a possible event. So there are for sure, even for heat waves as well, actions which should be implemented much on a more longer term basis and not only short term actions. So it's this combination of both which makes most sense. I would like just to highlight our website, forecastbasedfinancing.org. You find a lot of information there. And under pilot projects is the Vietnam project, and there is even a newsletter where you can subscribe and you get, I mean, I don't promise to get really regularly information, but from time to time you get updates. Thank you very much, and I hand over to Pablo.
Thank you so much, Alexandra.